Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. So this week we're going to start off talking about history and government. So in our notes, you'll notice that it is 3 pages, but mostly because I wanted to include some pictures and a graph. Maybe it'll open. There we go. So these notes do start on page 5 slide 5 of your unit 3. And this is what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and jump right on in. So our history and government. Oh no. Pardon this, y'all. I needed to hit that button. So history and government. Originally, we came from Asia into North Africa and through the Bering Strait. So you can see here, this is kind of controversial, but the idea, this isn't proven. This is the idea that we started in Africa. We went up through Asia, then we moved here through the Bering Strait. Now the Bering Strait was a bridge made of ice that connected Asia to Alaska, and then we could come down through here, okay? Now, again, this is nothing that we've been able to prove, but this is the idea of where we think people came from, okay? So people are originally going to be known as Native Americans or settled in here. Now, there's a bunch of different Native Americans, tribes that have different cultures, have different lifestyles. I don't go into super detail here, but I give you some basic outlines, okay? So this is what that graph is for, that red, gray, and white graph. And I have the who column already filled out for you, so you just have to move the where column and the relied on what column, okay? So the Inuit people are going to live in the cold tundra lands of the Arctic. They're going to rely on caribou for fur and food. Caribou is kind of like moose. It's kind of like a giant deer, but it's not as big as a moose. So they're going to use the fur to keep warm, and they're going to store the food and eat that and use like every part of the animal. Then we have Native Americans on the Pacific coast who are going to rely on fish. Native Americans in the high desert regions of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah are going to rely on farming with irrigation. So what that means is they are going to create little ditches that allow for water to move and water their crops so they don't have to keep moving, okay? We are also going to have a section of Native Americans on the Great Plains, and they're going to rely on herds of buffalo. Now, buffalo is very much extinct compared to what it used to be. It used to be like you'd go out west and you just see mounds and mounds and mounds of buffalo herds. But due to people killing them when they moved out west, now they're not nearly as populated as before. Then we are also going to have a section of Native Americans in the east area of the Mississippi River, and they are going to be hunting for deer, turkey, geese, and squirrels. Now, within these 5 sections, there are tons of different Native American tribes. These Native American tribes, these 5 sections are based solely on where they lived, okay? So within, the Native American tribes of east of the Mississippi, there's probably going to be 5 or 10 different tribes who fit that, okay? So this is just a very broad explanation of where we can find these early Americans and where they're going to be, where they are and what they're relying on, what they're needing for food, okay? So these were the people who lived in the United States and Canada and even, Mexico until we started to be colonized. Now, we began to be colonized in the 1500s when Europeans came, and they're going to come because they want to farm. Let me go ahead and get my pointer up. They want to farm, and we're going to settle in here and farm. Valuable minerals, so like coal, iron, stuff like that. Political freedom. I hope you guys know that and religious freedom, that a bunch of these early colonists came because they, A, didn't like having a king or a queen, and B, they didn't like being told that they had to follow a certain religion. Okay, so a lot of them are going to come to, what is now the United States and Canada in order to escape from those things they didn't like. And they're going to come from all over Europe. They're going to come from England, England, France, and Spain. And you can see here, blue is going to be France, red is Great Britain, and Spain is going to be this orangey, peachy color. Okay. Come on. So we're going to talk about each of these three areas, England, Spain, and France. We're going to start with England. But mostly, if you came from England, you settled along the Atlantic coast or the Hudson Bay. Hudson Bay, remember, is up here. And then here is the Atlantic Ocean over here. And in the northern colonies, you're going to rely on fishing, shipbuilding, trade, and manufacturing. And then if you're in the south, you're going to be farming. And again, cash crops is crops that are sold for money. Now, if in the southern colonies, they are going to use slaves to help. I don't really want to say help because that's not quite right, but they're going to use slaves to farm. France, on the other hand, is going to settle along the St. Lawrence River in Quebec. So here's the St. Lawrence River. And they're also going to settle in New Orleans for fur trade. So they're going to follow the Mississippi River down, all the way down to New Orleans, and that's how they're going to trade their fur. However, in 1763, after the 7 Years' War, or the French and Indian War, France is going to have to give up most of its lands to the British. So because of this, the relationship between Native Americans and white settlers got really bad. And then in addition, the colonies along the East Coast are starting to resent British rule. So there's just a whole bunch going on in this area that's, kind of combining to make bad things happen. Now, Spain is going to settle in a bunch of different places. You can see here, everywhere it's red. So they're going to settle in South America, Central America, and Mexico. They're also going to settle in St. Augustine, Florida. They're going to have a really big missionary there. They're also going to settle in the southwest areas of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Now, they did this because they had two goals. They wanted to create outposts, meaning they wanted to have their soldiers there, and they also wanted to create missions in order to convert Native Americans to Christianity. That was their whole big thing, the three G's, God, glory, and gold. That's what they were going for, okay? So if you remember back, we have all this stuff stewing. We have the colonies hating King George. We have the resentment with the Native Americans. And this is going to explode. This is going to kaboom in 1775 when the 13 colonies are going to start fighting England for independence. The colonies want a republic. They want a representative government, meaning that there is a person representing them. I can't think of that word. But basically, it's one person, one vote. In a monarchy, remember, the monarch doesn't have to do what the people want them to do. And the colonies are like, no, that's not fair. Okay, we want our leader to do what we want them to do. So they are going to fight for independence, obviously, and we win. And that is how we end up with the United States of America. I know this is the start of that third third slide on our notes. So this is going to be talking about Canada. So the people in Canada are going to remain loyal to Britain. And if you are part of the United States and you are still loyal to the king, you're going to move to Canada as a result. Okay? So these Canadians, or these colonists turned Canadians, are going to settle in the provinces of Quebec, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. the French people were no longer the majority in Canada, because remember, that was originally where the French had settled. So Lower and Upper Canada, here's Lower and Upper, unite in 1841. Great Britain approves them for self-government 6 years later in 1847, and this is going to form the Dominion of Canada in 1867 with 3 provinces. It's going to be Quebec, which is in red, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, which is over here. Nova Scotia and New Brunswick is also in red. Between the years of 1869 and 1887 and the 1900s, 6 more provinces are going to be added. I am going to do my best, but you can probably guess that I'm not saying these right. But we have Manitoulin, British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Newfoundland. Okay, so these are all going to be like in this area. We still haven't gone into the northwest. Okay. Eventually, these will be added, and we will talk about that more later on. So these are your notes. Like I said, this picture is also in your notes. That's what's taking up a lot of this time. But remember, if you're watching this video, I highly suggest you do your notes, just because who doesn't want 120 points extra credit added to their grade? Okay. So once you're done with this, go ahead and hop back into the classroom. Look up assignment 27, where we're going to be talking about Quebec and its fighting for independence. But other than that, that's all we have today. I'll see y'all later. Bye.